back with us next week. So you will be seeing Romane's smiling face again next Tuesday. But today we're going to have two interesting segments. We're going to start with a guest who's going to call in, who is no stranger to Gynesis Radio. She has been a supporter of this station for some time, and we have supported her in her political endeavors. And I'm talking about none other than Sergeant Major Claudette Williams. So Claudette will be calling in, and she's going to share with us some of her wisdom and talk a little bit about Women's History Month and the fact that the Women Veterans Museum is reopened, reinvigorated, and ready for visitors. So Claudette will be joining us in the first segment. In the second segment, we're going to talk about, well, Romane and I discussed this. We're going to talk about what I'm calling the slap heard around the world. We have our first caller. Claudette, welcome to the show. How are you?
Yes, thank you, Ron. Thank you very much. Sorry I couldn't be there in person this evening.
Well, these things happen. You're a busy woman. We get it. So tell us a little bit about...
Never to visit for a friend.
Oh, well, thank you. All right, so tell us a little bit about, one, the significance of Women's History Month, and also a little bit about the museum being reopened and its significance.
Yeah. And Ron, if you notice that I've been spreading the word about the Women Veteran Museum since we reopened our doors on March 5th. And one of those reasons that we chose March 5th was Women's History Month, and we wanted to definitely highlight women who have made significant strides in society. And we also celebrated Black History Month with posts on our Facebook page in regards to our museum. So our museum, Women Veteran Museum, reopened its door on March 5th at our new location. So our new location is 29 Sterling Road, Suite 3 in Mount Pocono, just right off 611. If you are going up on 196, right out top side where the old Pizza Hut used to be, across the street from the White gas station, right where VLD Electric is. And so you see, notice I gave you so many different landmarks to make sure that people won't miss it when they're coming to see us. And I guarantee you when they visit us, they will never leave the same. Their mind will be changed, and they will see what it is for individuals to serve in the military, as well as how women have served and the things that we have done and the accomplishment we have made.
Well, that sounds like something we all need to visit. Those of us in the Mount Pocono region, coming from other places, need to visit, stop in, and see some of the accomplishments that women have made in defense of this nation. So I'm so happy that you're reopened. What are the hours up there?
Okay, so our hours are Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. and on Sunday from 12 to 4. On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday we're open by appointment with small groups and just individuals. And plus, we also provide other services to veterans. Like if a veteran has some issues that they're not getting an answer to, then we'd love for them to stop by. Let's talk about it. We discuss it, and we provide the resources that we can. Make some phone calls. If they're having issues with the VA or not getting what the services that they need, we're open. We help them with those things. And I always say that a soldier or a person cannot serve in the military unless they have their family support. So we love to speak with the family. We love to help support the families. And so it's Women Veteran Museum and Family Services. So whatever we can do that to help that veteran and their family, we take those things very important, and we move forward with those, providing the resources that we can.
So is there?
If we don't have it, like they say in the military, if we don't have the answer, we'll get it.
Well, they do say that. So is there a cover charge, or how does someone support the museum?
Okay, so we don't charge for a visit to the museum, even though everyone that works in the museum, we're volunteers. But we ask if you choose to donate to the museum, help us to keep our doors open and to keep the lights on. And so you can always go to our Facebook page and donate to our museum. Our website is still under repair, but you can also send us a check. Make out to the Women Veteran Museum, 29 Sterling Road, Mount Pocono, PA 18344, definitely. Or just give us a call and we'll give you the information. We also have a PayPal account that you can tap into and just put in Women Veteran Museum, and you can it will show up, and you can definitely donate to the museum. And if you can't find us, there's just put in From Boots to Heel. That is actually our logo, because what we do is our slogan is we show how women transition from wearing those military boots into heels, the different jobs that we have, and how the transition that we make without breaking a stride continuously. Being a mom, being a soldier, being a corporate woman, being whatever we want to be, and still nothing stops us on our transition.
Well, for you, this museum is very personal because you yourself are a veteran who spent many, many years in the U.S. Army. Isn't that correct?
Yes, it's actually very, very personal. And the museum came about when I got frustrated with someone asking me, where did your husband serve? Or are you the wife? And I got very frustrated, and I was like, this is it. After 30 years in the military, attaining the rank of a sergeant major, we're still being asked, where did your husband serve? Or, are you the wife? And so from the time that we started the museum and the idea came into play, it took us 5 months before we opened our first doors. So yes, it's very, very personal, and I love to share my experience, the experience of so many other women that have gone before me, and just the displays that we have in the museum that goes all the way back to 1934, the different uniforms, the different artifacts, the different stories, and that's what the museum is about. It's about educating the community on the different branches of service, but telling the stories of the different women and their accomplishments, and we just so enjoy sharing all that experience with the individuals who visit us.
That sounds like something that should be introduced into the schools, in the region, so that young ladies who may be thinking about a career in the military can get to see firsthand what women can achieve, within the ranks of the military.
Yes, definitely. And we're trying to connect with, different organizations, Boy Scout, Girl Scout, and even the schools, if they wanted to participate in bringing the kids on a school trip just to the museum, we make those allowances for the small groups and large groups too. But I mean, taking COVID into consideration, we figure out how we divide up the groups. But that is what our intention is, to definitely share the message and educate the community, the state of Pennsylvania and its surrounding states as much as we possibly can.
Well, switching gears a little bit, aside from your service as a soldier, you're also a politician, so to speak. You've run for office, held office. So in terms of the political landscape, looking toward 2022, we have a number of very important races coming. We have senatorial races, both state and national, and we have, of course, the gubernatorial election coming up. And I got to tell you, in looking at the candidates from what I see on television, commercials, and literature, I'm very much underwhelmed by what I'm seeing. I don't really like anybody. So, and I'm just being completely honest, everybody is saying the same things. I approve this message and I'm fighting for you. And the problem is that people say they're fighting, but it seems like they're losing the fight because things aren't getting any better for the average American family or the working class. So from you, who was inside,
what is my advice?
Well, is there anyone out there that you think or that you like, and why?
You asked me a question like that. I'm probably going to be biased because if you remember, and first let me correct you. You said I'm a politician. No, I am a people-tician, not a politician.
I like that even better.
The people.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So if you remember, I was the chair of the Democratic Party starting from 2016 until 2020. So if you're going to ask me a question, well, who is my choice for the governor of Pennsylvania? Of course, I'm going to go with Josh Shapiro, because I believe in what has been done so far by Governor Wolf, and I believe Josh would make an excellent governor. So I will be biased.
Right.
Just to make that clear. But some of the focuses that we need to also place is on our local election that's coming up. We have individuals in Monroe County that are going to be running for Senate, and we have people that are going to be running for Congress, and we have people, state Senate, and then we have people that are running for the House of Representatives. And these are our next door neighbors. And what we need to do, people are voting. That I ran for the House twice.
Yes.
And I had the 176, which include the West End. And people are not changing their mind. They're voting the same way that they normally would vote, but they're getting the same result. They're not getting, nothing is changing for them. We have politicians who have ran on property tax relief for Monroe County for 20 years, and property tax relief has not come. And these individuals keep saying the same thing, and voters go out and they vote for the same individual, thinking it's going to make a difference, and it has not changed.
Well, that's why I said. I'm very much underwhelmed, because people are saying the same thing. Everybody says I approve this message. Everybody says I'm fighting. Everybody says the same buzzwords. And I think the first time I heard I approved this message was in 1988 with George Bush Sr. So from 1988 to now, what's changed? And I was watching a documentary on Shirley Chisholm, of all people, when she ran in 1972 for the Democratic nomination to be president of the United States. And what Shirley Chisholm was arguing for in 1972 is the same thing that we're arguing for in 2022. So what has changed politically in 50 years? I don't see much. Exactly. Well, I shouldn't say nothing's changed. Things have gotten worse in some respects, right? Like the value of our dollar, the economy, crime, the education standards have diminished and decreased year after year. We've cut funding for things like school children, for healthcare, right? It's become a complete mess. And you know something? When you look at it, I can almost understand why people supported Trump, because he sounded different. He didn't say the same. He didn't make the same speeches, make the same statements that we've heard from the 1970s, right? He said something different. And, realistically, when we look ahead into 2024, I'm pretty sure we're going to see the name Trump on the ballot. I do not think that the investigation in New York that the Attorney General, Letitia James, has put in place since he left office, I think that investigation is going nowhere fast. I think the same can be said of the investigations on the West Coast. I think there was something in California. But I fully expect to see the name Donald Trump on the 2024 ballot. And I think that unless the Democratic Party can come together, because, right now you have a very splintered party. You have people like Joe Manchin, a senior senator who doesn't support the president's agenda, who doesn't support, portion of the Democratic platform like the Green New Deal and things of that nature. So you have a very splintered party. And one thing the Republican Party is good for is staying on point, staying on message. If one says it, they all says it. They all say it and they stick to it. Whereas the Democrats, you have one group here saying one thing, another group here saying something different, and it only leads to confusion, and confusion at the polls is a bad sign.
We are our worst enemies.
Yeah.
Our worst enemy. And you're correct. But it would be really, really sad, and it would be really bad to see Trump on the ballot in 2024, because what he has done during his 4 years is change the face of politics forever. Those individuals that had their negative feelings or have wanted to do things, have their different isms that they became empowered, feel like they could be more open about the things that how they feel. And it's created a division in our country, but you're correct. I mean, they do stick together, and Democrats were divided. And divided you will fall, and that is a sad thing. And I'm hoping that by the time the 2024 election rolls around, we at least at somewhere between, we're together, and we see every time, even in our national election, in our local elections. I mean, I ran in as a Democrat, being the chair of a Democrat, and didn't get a lot of Democratic support, and had, I mean, like, and didn't get endorsed by Democrats that are in office.
And that's the problem. And that is one of the problems with the Democratic Party, right? The lack of support for one another. Mm-hmm. And for the Republican Party, I think statistically, most people in this country are registered as Democrats. So for the Republicans to win, they have to do things like gerrymander and sow seeds of division within the opposing party in order to win. And they do it well. And they've been doing it well now from probably the 80s. And I think that this coming presidential election, I truly believe we're going to see the name Trump on the ballot. And I think that...
And it would be sad.
Well, you got to figure 75 million people, give or take, voted for Donald Trump. And they voted for him because he's not saying the same thing. We've got to have different messaging. We've got to have someone who's going to go into Washington on a state, local, and national level who are going to do some different things, who are going to address the needs of Americans. Now, here we are, we find ourselves in a war. Not necessarily I guess we'll call it a proxy war. We're fighting the Russians through Ukrainians. But what happens is the president and Congress has earmarked billions of dollars to defend the Ukraine. Well, that same money could go in defense of democracy in this country. It could also go to healthcare. It can go to creating jobs. It can go to creating or improving our school systems, our infrastructure. All of this is crumbling while tax dollars and veterans as well, because
that have already served,
like you,
and are being denied care.
I agree with you 100%. As you know, I'm a veteran as well, right? So yes, I'm in support of veterans who go off, risk their lives for this country, and come back and find themselves homeless or underemployed, can't find a job, can't find adequate health care. Yet we're sending hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars to defend the Ukraine. And look, it's not that I'm not in support of the people of Ukraine. Okay. Nobody wants to see a refugee crisis. Nobody wants to see a country destroyed. Nobody wants to see people die unnecessarily. But at the same time, there are people dying in this country. And that's not going to be splashed on the headlines of CNN, HLN, or Fox News. These people are dying from just neglect. So I think that we really need, you said Donald Trump changed the face of politics. And you know something? We need people who are going to bring about change. Everybody says that they're going to bring about change, but how many people actually do it? Right? So we need real change. Our political system is like our infrastructure is crumbling. Our economy is crumbling. And we need people in there who are going to recognize these problems and not tell us the problems are the Chinese, the problems are the Russians, the problems are the people in Venezuela. The problems are right here in Washington. That's our problem, right? That's what's creating division in this country amongst people who are black, brown, white, right? That is the real problem, and that's what needs to change.
and you're correct, and I can hear that passion that you're speaking about. But I'll tell you, even locally, in when I ran in 2018, we have a group. It's called the Young Dems. Every candidate that was on that ballot, I was the only African American. I was the only Black person on the ballot at that time, and every candidate that was running got endorsed by them, except for me. And these are the things that happen behind the scene that a lot of people don't know about, and so therefore changes will not come because depends on who is running that people don't think will qualify enough. Not that you're not qualified, because it's not about qualification. It's about who you like. But is that person going to be the person to do the job? Is that person going to be the one with a positive mindset that's going to be for that equality, for that fairness, to move us forward? Those are the things that we need to start paying attention to. Those are the things that we need to start paying attention to, because what's going on, you're right, what's going on in this country is devastating. That's happening right here in our backyard. And I am very passionate when it comes to veterans. We just had a event last Saturday at the VFW 509 in celebration, Welcome Home Vietnam Vets.
Right.
Last Saturday, we just had that celebration. Welcome Home our Vietnam Vets. And a lot of them are without services.
Well, you know something?
Because they have to go through a whole lot of stuff just to prove that they deserve it, that to prove that this happened while they were in service, to prove that they're it's so much stuff it takes for them to prove to be able to get service, just basic medical care. Well, and that is a shame. Well, so when they call, they have no issue of going forward because we all raise our right hand and said we will serve, we will defend the Constitution. But then when they come back, the service is not there.
Well, you know something? I think that what we need to do as we get closer to these elections, I think what we need to do is have you on again to talk more about these issues. And I think that for those folks that are running in, here locally, whether they're Democrat, whether they're Republican, we need to have them to come on and tell us, what are your intentions? What are you going to do to address the needs of the people here in Monroe County, in Northeast Pennsylvania, and for the state as a whole, the state of Pennsylvania, what are you going to do? So we're running a little short on time in this particular segment, but we would love to have you to come on and to have some of the other candidates that, unfortunately, right now, we don't know who they are. But if they're going to run in this county, we should know who they are. We should know what it is they represent and what their ideals are. So, Claudette, I thank you for calling. And we're going to set up a time when as we get close to this election, we're going to go and talk about the needs here locally, as well as in this in this nation. And we're going to see which candidates make the most sense. So, Sergeant Major,
it would be my absolute pleasure.
Well, Sergeant Major, I thank you so much for calling in, for joining us, letting us know about the Women's Veterans Museum. And you say give us the location again.
29 Sterling Road, Suite 3, Mount Pocono, and our zip code is 18344. We're right on 196, just a little bit above the new restaurant, which is Castellano, across from the ShopRite gas station.
Okay.
You can't miss us. We have a big, bright red and white sign with our boots and our heels.
Okay. You know what? You will be seeing me there. I will be stopping in. I hope others will come and follow my lead and come in as well and support this very important museum. So again, Claudette, thank you so much for calling.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. So as we get into our second segment, we're going to talk about some hot topics. And probably the hottest topic right now is what I'm calling the slap heard around the world.
Slap heard around the world.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the takeaway from the Oscars the other night, well, sadly, that is the takeaway. I was listening to the radio on my drive in, and this people are saying that the only thing that seems to be trending is Will Smith and what appears to be the slap of comedian Chris Rock. Now, I know a lot of people, and I've seen it all over social media, a lot of people saying, well, he went up there, he slapped him, and Chris Rock was indefensible, or what he did was indefensible. Chris Rock wasn't able to defend himself. Will Smith was wrong. Will Smith shouldn't have done that. You hear so much. My question is it beyond the realm of possibility that this whole thing was staged in order to get ratings? And
hey, look, I kind of think it was staged a little bit too, because after Will Smith smacked him and he turned around and walked away,
right,
he was smiling from ear to ear. That wasn't anger.
Well, not only that, right? Now, Will Smith, we know, is from West Philadelphia, rough section of Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Rock, on the other hand, Chris Rock and I grew up probably, I don't know, 5-6 minutes from one another in Bedford-Stuyvesant.
Mm-hmm.
So his reaction when Will Smith came up on the stage was not do or die, Bed-Stuy minded.
Right.
If you just made a joke about somebody's wife and that person is approaching you, do you put your hands behind your back? That's number one. Number two, I'm going to ask you this, TP. Somebody walks up to you, slaps you in the face, then turns their back and walks away from you. Are you just going to stand there?
You can cancel Christmas.
Thank you, brother. There's no way you're going to slap me in my face, then turn your back on me and think I'm not going to dive on you like white on rice. Something is wrong. You know what I mean? Now, look, what I heard the other day is that from the 1990s to now, about 2/3 of the viewership has been lost.
Yep.
As it relates to the Oscar, or to the Oscars rather. They were saying that in the 90s, 60 million viewers would tune in to watch the Oscars. On Sunday night, I think they said there was somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 million. Well, by today's standards, that's good, but it's not 60 million. That means 45 million people have decided we don't care about the Oscars. So with that in mind, is it possible that this whole thing was staged? And, Will Smith, we pretty much, TP and I are the same age group, all right? We kind of pretty much grew up watching Will Smith. From the time, he was with Jazzy Jeff and then the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So in that time, have we ever known Will Smith to have violent tendencies?
Not at all.
And something, there were times when Will Smith really could have went in on people. When this whole situation came up with his wife, with this younger man, I think Will Smith handled that with class. He didn't go after this young man.
Yeah.
So he's going to ignore the fact that his wife had a relationship with a younger man, but he's going to go attack Chris Rock because Chris Rock made a joke. Does it even make sense? So for those of you that have an opinion on what happened on Sunday night, give us a call. The number here is 888-304-4401. Again, 888-304-4401. And give us your opinion. What did you see? Because, I've heard, or I've seen rather, on social media, so many different versions. That he slapped him. Some say he punched him. But, I kind of broke it down. And I looked at Chris Rock's body language. I looked at Will Smith's body language. I looked at, after the alleged slap, I looked at the position of Will Smith's hand. And if you look at his hand, his fingers are separated, which tells me that's not a real slap. If you're going to go and slap somebody, I mean slap the taste out of their mouth so they can't even taste hot sauce for a couple of months, you're going to have your fingers together so you can generate maximum, force and just and impact, right? If somebody is going to insult your wife to the point where you feel you need to go up there and address it in that manner, you're going to slap this brother really hard. Just to let him know, don't you ever fix your mouth to say anything about my wife again. Right? And I didn't see that.
Nah, me neither. But I mean, I'm just a regular dude from down the street. And see, we have a New York state of mind, Ron.
Right.
And our New York state of mind says that don't seem right. Because we know that Chris Rock got a New York state of mind.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I know him. I know his brother. Heck, I even know his mother. His mother lives down in Georgetown, South Carolina.
Oh.
I know them guys. And, Chris Rock's a funny guy, but he ain't no punk.
He ain't gonna let nobody slap him in the face.
Right.
Right. And then turn their back
Right.
and walk away. Right.
Right.
It just defies logic that somebody's going to come on stage and I see you coming and I'm going to put my hands behind my back. Right. Inside every one of us is something called a flight or fight mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, if you're going to fight, you're going to put your hands in a position where you can defend yourself. Chris Rock didn't do that. Will Smith walks up, right? And if you look at the action in slow motion, you see what Chris is basically rolling with the slap, right? And what you hear is the hand striking a microphone. Somebody slaps you in your face, you're going to hear skin on skin. So I don't know, folks.
They are actors.
They trained actors,
They
right?
Actors.
Will Smith trained to fight to be Muhammad Ali.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, during those segments, you ain't hitting this other guy. You are trained to make sure that the punches look like they're real, but there's really no contact. Chris Rock, on the other hand, another trained actor, right, who's been in positions where he had to turn away from a blow, like in New Jack City and other movies. So this is exactly. So this is not something that would be strange to them.
Right.
And this is not something that the movie industry or the television industry has not done. And I was talking to Romane on the way in briefly, and I said, listen, do you remember the Super Bowl where Janet Jackson's breast was bared?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now here you are, you're Janet Jackson, global superstar. Justin Timberlake, another superstar. If you're going to do the Super Bowl halftime show, would it be reasonable to think that you're going to rehearse, your song, your routine? Would that be reasonable to think?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you mean in all of this preparation and this rehearsal, nobody knew that he was going to remove that portion of her outfit?
Mm-hmm.
She didn't know it was coming. He knew exactly which one would come off. This is just accidental. I don't think so. I don't think any of this stuff happens by accident. I think that this is done for the shock value. I think this is done for the ratings. Unfortunately, Janet Jackson's career suffered, not Justin Timberlake's, but Janet Jackson, her career suffered a bit, took a hit because of that particular situation. But, I don't think we should make the mistake in defining Janet Jackson by that one 30-second incident. Just as I don't think we should define Will Smith by what happened. This is just a matter of seconds. So let's say, for argument's sake, and again, I don't believe it was a real slap, but let's say it was. People are condemning Will Smith's actions. Well, Will Smith is a human being. Human beings have bad days. Human beings go through things, stress, anxiety, fear, plain anger. And, some days you can contain it better than others. But then there are some times when things rise to the surface, just like a volcano. these things happen. And, Will Smith is being judged not by the years that he's put into the television and movie industry. He's being defined by a 30-second segment at the Oscars. Is that fair? Do you judge a man the entirety of his life based on what happened in a matter of seconds? I don't think you do. I think you have to look at a person as the whole person and not just what happened in a split second. So I know there are a lot of people who have, different ideas of what happened. Like I said, I see on social media, people are saying that, Will Smith, they're comparing this dude almost to Adolf Hitler. Saying that this was an assault. Well, no. For those of you that don't know, I should tell you that I'm a retired police officer. So if you slap someone, that is not considered assault. That is considered harassment. So, assault requires some sort of physical injury. If he went up there and punched him in his face, and Will Smith's, or rather Chris Rock, had some sort of injury that was brought on by a result of being struck with a closed fist, then you're talking about an assault. If someone says something, verbal threats, things of that nature, even a slap, that's considered harassment. And in terms of charges, it's not even a misdemeanor, it's a violation. Not something that would go anywhere in terms of prosecution. In fact, I think you'd spend more time going back and forth to court trying to get hearings than you would spend time in jail for slapping someone, particularly someone who's a very wealthy man and well respected. But anyway, for those of you that think you saw, or honestly believe you saw this man, Will Smith, strike Chris Rock, call in and give me your take. Because you know what? I'm no expert. I just happen to be looking at it. In fact, I didn't even watch the Oscars like so many, like 45 other million Americans. I didn't watch the Oscars. I saw it the next morning, a little clip on the news, and something didn't strike me. Just something didn't sit right with me when I saw it initially. I think it was Will Smith's body language, the way he swung at Chris, that kind of led me to believe that's not real. But again, we all see things differently. We all see from different angles, different perspectives. So if you have a different perspective, different angle, again, call in and give me your take. The number is 888-304-4401. And I'm hoping to hear from my co-host, Romane, because she said this was something that she really wanted to talk about, because she has a whole different, take on what happened between Chris and Will Smith. Now, Romane, of course, for those of you who may not know, Romane is a social worker. So, amongst other things. So, of course, she kind of went and looked at it from more of a psychological angle. She talked about how she thinks that Jada Pinkett Smith put a great deal of pressure on Will to react, that there was some sort of body language or maybe a look or a glance from Jada Pinkett Smith to Will that led Will. Oh, here is my co-host, Romane. Welcome to the show. We're talking about the slap heard around the world.
Yes, it definitely was. It was heard around the globe. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just telling our listeners your take on how you were saying that you think that Jada Pinkett Smith put pressure on Will to go and respond. Right?
I really do. I really do.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about that.
I think that their entire relationship has been one where Jada has kind of, for lack of a better way to put it, I think she's been very manipulative in the entire relationship, from her sex addiction to her red table talk and entanglements. And I think that she manipulates Will. And I think that she gave him the look. He laughed at the joke initially, and then she gave him the look, and then he got up and he proceeded to respond. But I think that deep down on the inside, Will is really this insecure guy, because, you know, somebody that's into swinging and stuff like that, they're not usually insecure men, you know. He's just emotionally very unstable. I think he's very insecure.
He's definitely no Tupac.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. Matter of fact, two questions. One, now you say Jada's sex addiction. Are we sure this woman has an addiction to sex? That's the first question.
She said it.
Okay. I didn't hear her say that.
Yeah.
Okay, and the second question is.
Yes, she said it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, my second question is, now you said you use terms like manipulate or manipulative and terms like that to describe Jada and her control over Will Smith. Well, to break it down into the least common denominator, are you saying that Will is whipped?
I think Will is whipped. I think his nose is wide open. I think it's been wide open. And you remember our parents used to listen to that song Lost and Turned Out?
Oh yeah. The Whispers. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And you think that's the case with Will Smith?
I think that's the case.
Well, is that necessarily a bad thing? I mean, should a man be in some way whipped by his wife? And I guess maybe vice versa.
Yeah, but to what extent?
Well, to this extent, let's say if a woman has her husband whipped, right? And I mean whipped, well, is it likely he's going to stray? Because you got everything you need at home. And for a woman whose husband has her whipped, is it likely she's going to venture outside of the marriage or whatever relationship they're in if she's getting what she needs at home?
They if you're a sex addict, you could still be getting what you need at home and still have an insatiable appetite, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are we talking about Jada? Like, Jada wouldn't be doing that if she was getting what she needed at home? Yeah, she would be doing that if she had an insatiable appetite.
Well, it seems as if Will is very much accepting of that. And who knows? We don't know about if Will has an insatiable appetite as well. I mean, maybe the two of them.
So. I don't think so. I think my assessment of the whole thing is that, and that's not to say that at some point maybe he didn't enjoy it. He's a man. But I think initially, what I assess is that I feel like Will probably got into all of that initially to satisfy her. And it may have been a turn on, but I don't think it's something that he initiated. I think it's something she initiated.
Now, we need to be very careful about that, right? And I'll tell you why. Do you remember, and of course everybody remembers, Whitney Houston. So with Whitney and her addiction, everybody was pointing fingers at Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown had the bad boy reputation. Bobby Brown had gotten into some trouble, right? With alcohol, with, I want to say marijuana at some point. So everybody was pointing the finger at Bobby Brown, right? Bobby got her hooked on cocaine. It was Bobby that started her downfall. When in reality, we find out it wasn't necessarily Bobby. Whitney had been using drugs even prior to meeting Bobby Brown. So I think we got to be really careful in how we look at a situation because we never know what's going on. Exactly. So we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You know, we can only guess and speculate, right? Because I mean, listen, I believe that Bobby Brown was the bad influence. Then we find out in hindsight, it wasn't necessarily Bobby Brown. So in the case of Will and Jada, right? Okay, Jada was open and she talked about it, what was going on in the relationship. Will never really came on and went in depth about his sexuality. So we don't know. You know, Will could be a freaky deek. We don't know. You know what I mean? It's one thing to appear as some wholesome guy on television, right? But behind closed doors, you know, Will could have whips, chains, clubs, dogs barking. We don't know.
But do you remember when Jada talked about how hard it was for Will when she was going through her the biggest part of her addiction or the worst part of her addiction with sex, and how difficult it was for her husband, how much she put her husband through?
You know, I'll tell you something.
I just get the impression that, you know, Jada's not little sweet and probably purebred.
Oh, I'm not saying she is. By no stretch of imagination do I think that she is. I think Jada is who Jada is. However, you have to understand, it is difficult for every man to deal with infidelity from their woman. Every man goes through some serious psychological drama when you find out that your woman has been with another man. I mean, it's a lot of brothers in jail right now, right, who found out that their woman was with another man and decided, oh my God, I can't handle this. I got to go pick up a knife, a gun, something, right? There's a lot that goes on. You know, I think the difference is women on many levels, if you go home and you're honest and you tell your woman what happened, that you strayed, as long as you're honest and you're open, she can forgive you. A lot of women, you go home and you tell your man what you did, you might not tell nobody else nothing. Yeah. Some brothers, their ego is such that they can't handle it. Now, I don't know if that's the case with Will Smith or not. Apparently, it's not, because he's handled it, right?
Is he handling it?
Well, you know.
Or has he been slowly unraveling? Did he have a meltdown? Was that a meltdown?
Well, in terms of, you know, a slap, I wouldn't consider that a meltdown. Now, if he went up there, took the microphone out of Chris Rock's hand, beat him in the head with the mic, tried to shove it down his throat, dragged him backstage and beat him some more, now that's a meltdown, right? But a slap, I don't know. Again, you know, and Terry and I agree, it looks almost staged. It looks very much staged. You have two trained actors, right? One trained as a boxer when he portrayed Ali, and the other, you know, he's been struck in, you know, different movies and different roles he's played. So they're actors, they're trained to do this, to avoid contact, right? So I don't think that shows where Will is decompensating psychologically. You know, I mean, when a man is really going through it as it relates to his woman, oh, you're going to know it.
But I think that he has demonstrated that. I mean, even on the show.
Which show?
Even with the whole Oscar thing. Because he went from slapping him to crying to dancing and rapping and all of that after. His emotions were all over the place.
But now you have to keep in mind, he's a trained actor. We pay $10, $15 a ticket to see these folks, right? To show us emotion from rage to fear to anger to sorrow. And they do it within a matter of 2 hours or however long the movie is. This is what they're trained to do, right? So Will Smith, being an actor, who has trained probably with some of Hollywood's best, of course he can show emotion. He can turn it on and turn it off, like we turn on our faucet. So is it real? Remember the old commercial, is it real or is it Memorex, right? So I don't know. What is it? Did he really slap Chris Rock? Did he really cry? Was he rapping? Is this something to, the Oscars, the ratings are horrible in terms of what they were in the 90s. So is this to generate buzz? And God knows if you're listening to the radio, urban radio, that's all they're talking about. If you look at social media, it's all over social media. Last year on the Oscars, did we get that same amount of buzz as we've got after this incident?
Right.
Yeah, probably. Well, that's what they do. They create a buzz.
They have to.
But given Will's history on how emotionally all over the place he's been, to me, this all lines up. Now, I did hear somebody say that Jada tweeted something reckless like a few hours before the Oscars that gave people the impression that she knew what they were going to do.
Okay, so
I haven't seen the tweet, so I don't know. I have to see it. I'm not going to place much validity in it until I see it myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I did hear that. Just this evening, I heard that.
Mm-hmm. So if that's the case, then that is a clear indication that they knew this was going to happen, right? That this was something that was discussed, right? And it was planned. And if you look at Will Smith's body language, his right shoulder is back, right? I mean, if you're going to slap somebody, you're going to have your body square. Because again, you're trying to slap them so hard that you knock the taste out till Christmas, right? So that they know, don't you disrespect my wife again, right? And as I was telling TP, and we both agree, you don't slap a man in the face and turn your back on him and go back to your seat. Because, let's be realistic. Exactly. Because you're going to jump on this fool, you're going to dive on him, and whatever you got to do to inflict pain, you're going to do it. If you got to bite him like a vampire, you're going to make sure you don't raise your hands to me again, right? And nothing happened. Yeah. So I kind of question the whole incident.
Well, I guess this is what I will say that I'm certain of. Within the next few days or week or whatever, it's all going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
It won't stay a mystery. If it was staged, it'll be exposed. It'll all come out. But they say it'll all come out in the wash.
Absolutely.
It'll all come out in the wash. And hi, Terry.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. So it'll all come out in the wash.
Well, Romane, our listeners and our viewers want to know, when will you be back? Your chair has been empty for a little while.
I will be back on Tuesday.
All right. Folks, you heard it. Romane will be back on Tuesday. We'll be right here together again, talking about some of the issues that are so important to you, our listeners. So, Romane, we look forward to having you back. Your chair, we kept it warm for you. So we look forward to having you come back. I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said I look forward to coming back.
Well, that's good. All right. So we're going to be back next Tuesday, same time, 6 to 7, with Ron and Romane, Reason for Reason. And please tune in. Please call in with your questions, your comments. Romane has the Real Romane page on Facebook. Share your thoughts, and we'll address them right here on air. So we thank you for listening, and we hope you have a good night. On behalf of myself and Romane, you still there?
I'm still here.
All right. We're going to say good night.
Have a good night, everybody.
All right.